UFC time.
Hey.
Hey, UFC Fight Night. Luque versus Dos Anjos going down at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. Headlining by two UFC welterweights. Vicente Luque versus Rafael Dos Anjos. Brazil on Brazil violence right here, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to talk about, I believe, 4 of these bouts. Before we do so, are there any other fights or fighters on this card that you want to quickly spotlight for our viewers and listeners?
Omar, I'll let you go first here since I hogged Bellator.
Just a couple of the ones that I know that I'm going to be looking out for personally. The start of this card is Juliana Miller versus Luana Santos. Juju Miller, for those of you who watched the tough season. Juliana Miller honestly didn't have a great performance in her last fight, and I'm frankly just interested to see if it's gotten better. Hopefully it has, but I liked her as a character, as a person, so I just hopefully it gets better because the last one wasn't it. Francis Fire Marshall also on the card against Isaac Dulgarian. Fire Marshall always brings the fight. And then Terrence McKinney against Mike Breeden, like we talked about. Terrence McKinney stepping in on short notice against Mike Breeden. It's a good opportunity for Terrence McKinney to get back in the win column. He's had a couple rough goes. He was doing well in his last fight until he basically got caught in a weird position that got taken advantage of. So it's a good opportunity for McKinney to ideally put on another highlight reel performance.
I'll spotlight 2 more real fast. Jacqueline Amorim is back for her second fight. She's a girl who came in with some buzz in her debut and looked fantastic in round 1, but managed to absolutely gas after 5 minutes. So we'll see if she can get that in order and deliver on the hype in this one. She's fighting Montserrat Ruiz. And then the other one I'll point out is Marcus McGee, our boy, the man who I said looks like an old skateboarder. He had a fantastic debut. He's fighting JP Bays, right? Bays, they say? Yeah, JP Bays on this card. And it should be a fun one. McGee brings constant pressure, and I think he'll probably be hunting for a knockout in that fight with Bays.
Okay, let us begin. In the women's strawweight division with Polyana Viana versus Iasmin Lucindo. That's right. I said that right. Okay, Viana. Dama de Ferro. Out of Brazil, of course, 31 years old, 13-5 as a pro. None of her wins have gone the distance. 5 knockouts and 8 subs. This girl is a finisher, and she got one of those finishes last November. And she'll be standing across from Lucindo, 21 years old, out of Brazil. 14-5, 10 finishes, 8 of them knockouts. Most recently winning on the scorecards over Brogan Walker back in April of this year. Omar, start us off. Give us your take and your pick of Viana versus Lucindo.
Before we get deep into it, any guesses on Dama de Ferro and what that means? Or what the direct translation of that would be?
Like Lady of something. Lady of War?
Mark?
I don't know. Is Ferro fear?
Ferro is iron.
A Lady of Iron. Iron Lady.
Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden.
Dope.
Dama de Ferro.
Right? It's pretty dope. Anyway, if y'all have been on this podcast before and you've heard me talk about Iasmin Lucindo, you already know I'm not choosing against her. I am on firmly with a reserved cabin on the Iasmin Lucindo train. I'm not fucking getting off until we run off the bridge. So give me Iasmin Lucindo by first round KO. Let's fucking go.
Bro, it must have been hard when she fought your girl, Hadagway, back in August.
Well, he didn't know them yet.
Last year.
That was his intro to both of them.
I wasn't really too...
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I wasn't too perturbed. I fell in love with both of them. I thought it was an amazing performance from the two of them. And, you know, I was hurt when Hadagway just recently got murdered. But, you know, we don't have to worry about that for now.
Mark, take this one.
All right, Lucindo's the favorite. She's minus 190. Viana is plus 160. 2 inches of height and 1 inch of reach for Viana. And she's looked pretty solid of late. She's won 3 out of 4. She can snatch a sub, especially an armbar. She can put some combos on you, but I tend to think Lucindo is just going to be a level above here. I think she's the faster and cleaner striker, just a bit higher level of technique, and I expect she can be okay if this does happen to hit the mat a time or two. So if there's a finish, I actually think it's Viana who gets it, but I think Lucindo will be too tricky and will get this done and win a UD.
Yeah, I agree. Lucindo is very good. I'm going to go with her. And I'm going to say she gets yet another finish on her record here. I'm going to say she club and subs Polyana Viana. And I will say it's going to happen at the end of round 1. Okay, going up to the light heavyweight division. Khalil Rountree taking on Chris Daukaus. Rountree, the warhorse, the 33-year-old out of Las Vegas, Nevada, 11-5 and 1 no contest, 7 finishes. All 7 of those finishes are knockouts. And he's riding a 3-fight win streak coming into this weekend. He will be standing across from Chris Daukaus, the former heavyweight in the UFC, 33 years old, out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. His record stands at 12-6 coming into this weekend. 11 of his 12 wins have come by way of knockout. He is coming into this weekend from the opposite direction as Khalil Rountree, riding a 3-fight losing streak, unfortunately. So very much looking to right the ship and get back to the win column here is Chris Daukaus. And I will go first, and I will say that of all the guys to welcome him to the light heavyweight division, Khalil Rountree is not the guy who he's going to turn things around over. I think this is going to be a striking clinic for Khalil Rountree. I think Chris Daukaus is a talented guy. I do not dislike him. I think that he has had some tough matchups. He kind of fought a who's who at heavyweight recently, losing at the hands of Derek Lewis, Curtis Blades, and Rosenstrike. And I was going down to 205, going against my guy Rountree. It's no secret I'm a Rountree guy. I'm on the Rountree train here. So I'm going to say Rountree finishes him because things have not been going well for Chris Daukaus. And I think he's going to lose by knockout. He might have to really reassess things, having suffered 4 knockout losses consecutively here. So let me throw it over now to Mark for a take and a pick.
A lot of references to trains here tonight. A lot of train talk. Khalil's favorite. He's minus 190. Daukaus is plus 160. Is that the same exact odds I just said? Yeah, same exact odds on the prior fight. That's strange.
Funny.
2 inches of height and 2 inches of reach for Chris Daukaus. And I will say that I think this move to light heavyweight could be a good one for him. He's going to be in better shape now. He has a frame that fits at light heavyweight. I imagine that his general speed and hand speed will translate down at 205. I think his power probably moves down with him too. But with all that being said, I think he is going to get knocked out. This is going to be a pure striking contest.
Yep.
I don't think he's taken Khalil down. I mean, we always hear about this grappling that Daukaus has, but we haven't seen it at all. So maybe he shows it now, but we'll see. I think it's likely a striking contest, and I don't think that's a contest that Daukaus is going to win. I trust Rountree's chin significantly more than I trust Daukaus's, and I also like the variety of strikes that's going to be coming from Khalil over the boxing of Daukaus. And I think he finds a way to put Daukaus out as this fight goes on. So I will say Khalil Rountree, round 2, knockout.
Omar?
I agree. I think Rountree walks away with a body that night. I just think Rountree, and I've been pretty vocal about how good I think he looked after coming back from Thailand. And his striking has really improved and things like that. And I just think he's pretty technical. And if he's kept it up, I can only imagine how much more he's been able to absorb in the amount of time that we've had. So I didn't care so much for the Justin Jacoby decision personally, but regardless, I think Chris Daukaus is going to be a good opponent for Rountree, and I think it's going to end in round 1, Khalil Rountree KO.
Okay. We are all unanimous for Khalil. I'm a little surprised, I guess, just a little bit. Co-main event, UFC Fight Night. Co-main event going down in the... What division is this going to be in? Featherweight division. Cub Swanson taking on Hakeem Dawodu. What a fun matchup is this. Cub Swanson, kind of a living legend. He is the veteran of veterans, Killer Cub, the 39-year-old out of Palm Springs, California. His record stands at 28-13 with 17 finishes, 13 of them knockouts. Looking to get back in the win column after losing via TKO, via leg kicks against Jonathan Martinez back last October. And he will be standing across from Hakeem Dawodu, Mean Hakeem, the 32-year-old out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. 13-3 with 1 draw, 7 knockouts on his record. Also looking to get back in the win column after losing a decision to Julian Erosa. Mark, why don't you start us off this time? Give us your take and your pick. Swanson versus Dawodu.
Oh, I really wanted to fucking go last because I keep changing my mind. Well, we'll make a call on the fly here. I'll make some points to start. Dawodu's favorite. He's minus 230. Cub is plus 185. They're the same height. Dawodu will have a 2-inch reach advantage. And, yeah, as you may have guessed from my opening there, I think Cub is a lot more live here than people may think, than the odds makers may think. I get it that he's 39. I get it that Jonathan Martinez worked him in his last fight, but it was down at bantamweight. Cub never should have been there. And Hakeem Dawodu is not a guy that ever really blows guys away. Like, he's constantly in fights that are closer than they should be. He lets guys hang. Not to mention he just got kind of handled by Julian Erosa in his last fight, which was a bit surprising. Granted, I think the reach was a factor there, which is not a factor here. But I do really think Cub is live. I just can't decide if I actually want to pull the trigger on that. And Cub could even look to grapple here, potentially. I don't know that he would, but he could. I think the bet is definitely Cub at almost 2-1 odds. But I guess guys got to get old at some point here, right? Maybe that's what's happening. I will say Dawodu wins a 29-28 decision.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is an interesting and kind of a tough fight to pick. I think Cub's age, to be fair, is definitely a factor in that. If this was 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, I probably would be taking Cub enthusiastically in this spot. Yeah, the guy's 39 at a lighter weight class, and generally speaking, the lighter weight classes really is where you see guys' age show. It seems like the heavier the weight class, the more guys can find success in later years. But you know what? Fuck it. Just to be the contrarian here, it's like you kind of wait for when the wheels are going to fall off, but like you're not totally surprised if a guy like a Cub Swanson in this spot turns in a great performance and you're like, wow, he is still very good. And I'm going to say that that's what we're going to be saying on Sunday morning. I'm going to say Cub Swanson. I'll say Cub Swanson UD. Omar?
Yeah, I'm also kind of the mindset that I'm not particularly concerned for Cub Swanson with Hakeem Dawodu. And it's not to say that he can't lose. I think Cub Swanson's been in there with guys who I think present a lot more risk and danger in the approach. And I think Cub is a little bit, or probably a lot more technically sound than I think Hakeem Dawodu will be in there. So I'm going to still roll with Cub as well. I'm going to take a little bit of a bolder pick. I'm going to go with a second round TKO.
And I now officially hate that I'm the only one that didn't pick Cub.
All right, main event time. Here we go. UFC Fight Night, Luque versus Dos Anjos. In the main event, we have going down in the welterweight division, Vicente Luque taking on Rafael Dos Anjos. So Luque, the silent assassin, the 31-year-old fighting out of Westwood, New Jersey. He's 21-9 with one draw. 19 wins by finish, 11 of them knockouts. Very badly. Looking to right the ship here. He's on a 2-fight skid, losing against Bilal and Jeff Neal. Now he comes into Saturday night against the living legend and longtime UFC vet, Rafael dos Anjos, the 38-year-old fighting out of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He's 32-14 as a pro with 11 finishes. Add another 5 knockout wins to that. Most recently, finishing via submission by neck crank against Brian Barberena last December. I will go first. It's so funny. This is almost the exact same age dynamic as the co-main event, with Luque being 31 and RDA being 38. He'll be turning 39 this October, just in a couple months. In the words of Luke Thomas, we've said it before, MMA is a sport where the young cannibalize the old. And again, would I be shocked if RDA showed up and turned in a fantastic workman-like performance, as he has done so many times? Would not be shocking at all. But I'm going to roll with Luque. I think Luque is a better striker. I think he has, maybe I'm splitting hairs a little bit because RDA is fantastic and he's very, very good just about everywhere. He's one of the most well-rounded fighters that the sport has known is RDA. I'm going to give the slight edge, though, in the Muay Thai and the striking to Vicente Luque. I'm curious, Omar, if you would agree or disagree with that. And for that reason, I'm going to say this is going to be a back-and-forth fight. And I'm going to say that Luque wins it on the scorecards after 5 rounds. UD for Vicente Luque. With that being said, I'll send it over to Omar.
I think we're going to see RDA have a lot of problems, I think, trying to strike with Luque just based off of the reach and the height. I think he's going to be swinging upwards. I think this is one of the biggest problems that RDA has fighting at welterweight, is that he's got guys who are just physically taller than him, and it changes his entire game. I think we're going to be seeing, if anything at all, I think we're going to be seeing a heavy wrestler in RDA in this fight. I think he's going to rely a lot on his grappling, a lot on the cage, a lot of scooping the legs from out from under them, and hopefully trying to ride his way into the mount and kind of holding from there. The real issue is Vicente Luque is strong as fuck. And I don't see RDA being able to do that to him. RDA can ragdoll a lot of people. RDA can control a ton of people in the UFC, especially in the welterweight division. Especially the lower you go in the welterweight division, you could find probably a handful, if not less, of people that he can't ragdoll, and I would say the same for the lightweight division. This particular fight against Vicente Luque, that's not it. I think he's going to have a real hard time. You might see some success in the first round when everybody's all fresh and dry and shit like that. But the longer this goes, man, I think the more Vicente Luque will be able to put it on RDA, and I think he might end up finishing him. I'm gonna go with Luque. I'm gonna go with Luque here, 3rd round TKO.
Mark.
So I'm a bit surprised to see this. Not like I thought the odds would be wide by any means, but RDA is the favorite. He is minus 125, and Luque is exactly even money at plus 100. 3 inches of height and 6 inches of reach for Luque here. I'm pretty surprised to see that the reach advantage is that big. I wasn't envisioning it being that big in my head. And that's a factor because I was already unsure if RDA carried enough power to deter Luque in exchanges. And when you throw in 6 inches of reach, that becomes an even bigger challenge for RDA. Of course, he has the grappling to fall back on, and that's where he wins, especially these days. But as Omar alluded to, I don't know if RDA can hold Luque down as successfully and continually as he needs to win this fight. Like, Luque can grapple. He's a strong guy. He's pretty slick in transitions. I think you got to go Luque here. 25 minutes are a lot of minutes for RDA to not get clipped or blitzed or dropped or whatever it may be by a striker who's as good and dangerous as Vicente Luque. And I don't think RDA can exchange successfully enough with him. I don't think he can hold him down long enough to win a decision. And I really don't think he subs him either. So with all that being said, I got to go Luque.
Wow.
And the question is really just if it's a finish. And as much as I feel like no, because RDA is so tough, I'm just kind of seeing it happen for whatever reason. So I will say Vicente Luque round 4 TKO.
Okay.